you doing, John?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks very much for tuning into the stream, and of
Oh,
course
it's
being
all
added
right.
to the speaker roster. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no, that's great. It was Jordan had given me a little text and said, "Would you like to speak?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even know what was going on until tonight." So,
Yeah, I mean we've tried our best to advertise it, but but
yeah.
it's great you're here now.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Um,
It's been a great night. You've like raised so much money in such a short amount of time, which has been
I know
brilliant.
we're absolutely on a roll, and we're hoping to get that even higher. So we've got 15 minutes to try and make sure that we're clearing 700 because we want to keep
Okay,
up our 100 quid every hour would be
okay,
incredible.
got
Um,
you.
so really, that's on you and your performance in this interview.
Pressure.
Nah, not at all. But yeah, so if you don't mind starting, is there any chance you could tell us a wee bit about yourself and the work you do in training teachers?
Yeah, so my name is John. I'm a faculty head of expressive arts in a school in Aberdeen. And I am the secondary teacher trainer for TIE. So some of the resources that are online, such as Moments, that's one of the ones that I created, and it's getting used in probably most high schools in Scotland at the moment. And I did all the kind of teacher training pack and the whole day event and stuff as well. So we've trained over 300 teachers now, which has been amazing.
That's incredible.
And yeah, no, it's been absolutely brilliant because we've ran teacher training days in Edinburgh, two in Glasgow and one in Aberdeen. So, it was great actually to do one up in Aberdeen because we kind of get to be kind of forgotten about every now and again. It was great to come up here and see so many teachers wanting to learn and have that confidence to deal with LGBT education within their classrooms, which is kind of what we're lacking, I suppose. So.
Brilliant. And how did you get involved with Thai yourself? What was your sort of journey, so to speak?
So I started teaching in 2005, and my first day of teaching, I got asked if I was gay, and I was placed for teachers. You get your kind of like induction year, and you're kind of given that. So I was given probation down in Dumfries and Galloway. And I'm from Edinburgh, so I'm like a complete city boy, and find myself in what can only be described as like a wicker man situation.
Yeah.
And I had a choice: do I either go back in the closet or do I come out? And I came out on my first day of teaching. So, in 2015, I was the first teacher in Scotland to be given professional recognition by the General Teaching Council for Scotland in my work in LGBT education, which was amazing.
Brilliant.
But also a bit kind of confusing why it took them so long to even recognise that LGBT work was going on in schools. And Jordan and Liam had literally just set up TIE, and I was asked to go on a BBC Radio Scotland programme with them. And there was going to be me in a kind of like neutral kind of area, knowing that LGBT education is really important, but actually getting it through schools is going to be quite difficult and quite challenging. Jordan and Liam, who wanted every school in the kind of country to be have LGBT education, and then we had retired Catholic teacher as well who was against it. So when I first came to BBC Scotland, I thought Jordan and Liam were actually a couple, and I was like, oh, they're a handsome couple, blah blah blah. And then I kind of sat down, and basically Jordan and I were quite on the same wavelength about a lot of stuff. I couldn't believe what was coming out of this Catholic teacher's mouth as a fellow educationalist. And at the end of the kind of meeting, Jordan, Liam and I sat down and we decided that we could probably utilise each other's skills, mine's from a kind of education point of view and their passion for kind of grassroots and wanting things to change. So together, Jordan and Liam have kind of been the face of TIE, and I've kind of done all the kind of education, kind of secondary stuff. In the background, my sister Danielle, she does the additional support needs training, which is incredible. So she's an ally. But we're the first charity to actually cover additional support needs, because obviously you can't be LGBT and have an additional support need at the same time. So Danielle's been absolutely brilliant, and has looked at how we approach things to make it truly inclusive within our kind of classrooms. And then Scott's obviously our primary educationalist as well. So in primary, it's very much about relationships and about knowing your families, and that knowing that you are part of a kind of country that people come from two mums or two dads, or a mum and dad, or a mum or a dad, or a granny, grandpa, whatever. And in a secondary background, it's very different. It's about seeing LGBT people included within your classrooms and in your curriculum, and basically moving away from LGBT education being about sex ed, because we're seeing like people who don't know what they're talking about are just obsessed by thinking it's sex education, and it's not that at all. It's about seeing role models within our classroom. Very much like Lee's, I went to school under Section 28, bullied on a daily basis, tried to commit suicide age 16, didn't have any role models to look up to, told my drama teacher that I was gay. She had to keep the door open because she was scared it was something serious. My mum went up to the school. My mum was told that there was nothing they can do because it was LGBT bullying, and that maybe I should move school. And basically, I didn't want that for any other young person. So hence I went into teaching. But what became very apparent was that teachers don't have the confidence to be dealing with LGBT education. Like, we're seeing in Birmingham that people still think it's to do with sex ed, and it's got nothing to do with sex ed. And it's just really heartbreaking that the government removed Section 28 from our schools, but gave no training to staff on how to actually deal with LGBT education. They just presumed it was going to kind of happen. And I think I was quite shocked in the fact that I was a lecturer at college in FE and HE, and every single year to continue teaching in my job and to lecture, I had to pass an equality and diversity module to continue teaching. In my 10 years of secondary school teaching, I've not had one day of training off equality. So I've been campaigning for that and been fighting for that. So when I worked in Glasgow, I had a very forward-thinking head teacher. She wanted every staff member to be given equality and diversity training. I did that, and that was then rolled out across northwest Glasgow. I think now it's getting rolled across the whole of the whole of the council. When I moved up to Aberdeen, again, my teacher wanted every staff member to be trained in equality and diversity, to give them the basics, because we've all got our responsibility for health and well-being. And so I don't care if your subject is science or maths or PE or home economics. You need to make sure that the young person in front of you feels safe and secure, and that they're also being included. So it was to give staff the kind of confidence to be able to approach the kind of their own curriculums on how to make it LGBT inclusive. So simple things like in maths, if you're giving a problem that involves a family, just make the family have two mums or two dads. If you're talking about science, and you're talking about space, are your young people aware that the first woman in space was a lesbian? When you are doing English and you're looking at can't remember her name now. Oh, it's just been out of my head. The Scottish poet laureate. I can't remember her name, but she's a lesbian, and when you're talking about her kind of poetry, do you look at it from a different point of view? Are you looking at it from maybe how that might have been feeling from a kind of lesbian point of view, or a kind of same-sex relationship? So it was about making secondary teachers more aware that they have the subject knowledge, but to give them the confidence to do that. So it's been a hard task, but we're kind of getting there. Obviously, Jordan and Leah, we've been really wanting to include the religious schools, kind of faith schools. So that's been one of the biggest kind of hurdles I think we've kind of faced, and one that I think we will continue facing. But we've now got the government on our kind of side. So, but yeah, it's getting there.
No, I mean it absolutely is, and it's a power of work. You can see you can see how sort of ties come onto the scene. So as you could say, and like it's definitely getting there. You can see the progress they made since the sort of beginning. And a lot more people are being trained. I mean, the mere fact you've trained 300 teachers,
Yeah.
any sort of how 300 teachers are gonna easily do thousands of students during their time in their careers.
Yeah.
So is you've primed the pump to for change there.
I think ideally what I would like as a secondary teacher is to do a train the trainer model. So these 300 teachers that we've trained then go into their schools and train their staff.
Yeah.
And there's so much pressure in education at the moment. We're going through curriculum like change right, left and centre.
Yeah.
We've got huge issues with pay. I mean, we've just won that pay deal, but we've got huge issues with pay and work. And a lot of staff are just like, where can we fit this in? What can we do? And it's getting them to realise it's actually just the little things that you have to do. It's like you already know this information. It's just about adding it in. And I think what's going to be hard is that it's going to be interesting to see how Education Scotland take this forward and actually measure how this is going to be successful within the classrooms. And that we have true equality within our schools, because it's okay me doing LGBT education within my classroom, but how do I know it's happening in science or maths or technology or English? And we need our educational leaders, our kind of head teachers, to really be at the kind of forefront. To actually make sure that change is kind of happening. And I don't think it is. I think there's 300 amazing teachers doing work within their individual classrooms, but as TIE, we want to see that movement happening across every single classroom and in every single school. And I think that's where I suppose kind of my concern comes into it, and how I'm going to be interested to see what the next phase of TIE is going to be doing, because people think, oh well, you've got it into school now, that's the job done, and it's not. We need to make sure that actually every single teacher is doing their job, which is health and well-being, which is I'm going to go on a rant here, but I get so frustrated that we talk about raising attainment and bridging this attainment gap, and Nicola Sturgeon is all talking about judgment on education and blah 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 blah, and all they talk about is literacy and numeracy. That's all they ever talk about.
Yep.
Health and well-being is vital. If you don't want to be at school because you're being bullied because you're LGBT, then you're not going to be learning.
Reach the rest of it.
Yeah. So why are we not targeting health and well-being? Why are we not looking at, okay, what is wrong within our schools and how can we sort this?
It's interesting you say that, because you might have seen the recent TED talk that Nicola Sturgeon gave, where she's talking about how GDP shouldn't be the absolute be all and end all on how a country is successful, and talks about how wealth and health and well-being of the citizens is absolutely vital to that. So
completely.
The natural progression of that would be that numeracy and literacy are vital. But you're never going to improve them if you don't focus on the well-being of the students.
Yeah, and we've got exam results coming out on Tuesday next week, and I'm telling you now, every single school is going to be talking about their literacy and numeracy figures.
Yeah, it happens the same every single year. We have almost this pantomime about it.
Totally, it's absolutely bonkers that the key to raising attainment is health and well-being, and it never gets discussed. And I know that there's LGBT groups being set up across most schools, but head teachers are still worried about it being about sex ed. We're not having these conversations with parents. We're not having these open conversations with our young people, and we're not looking at the kind of like you spoke to Lise earlier on, who I absolutely bloody adore. I think she's amazing. But you spoke to Lise about trauma, and she basically said it wasn't trauma.
It was torture.
Yeah. For me, it was trauma. The impact of my bullying as a 38-year-old man is still apparent. I have anxiety. I tried to commit suicide in May of last year. I don't believe in myself. I don't believe in what I'm doing. I've kind of got imposter syndrome, I suppose. But yeah, I've been nominated for all these awards. I'm a faculty head. I've trained over 300 teachers. Like, that doesn't matter, because I still have this feeling of that I'm not good enough. And that comes from what I went through at school. And when you speak to Jordan, when you speak to Lise, when you speak to me, we all have the same stories. And it's absolutely heartbreaking, because it's still happening in our schools today. And this is what we need to change, and we need to change teachers' mindsets. And the government needs to put money in for training, and the money needs to go towards supporting staff to have the confidence, because staff are scared. Staff are scared they're going to get into trouble. Staff are scared they're going to get it wrong. Staff are under pressure. They're mentally under pressure.
Yeah.
And the government are actually doing nothing about it. They're kind of like putting a plaster over a kind of bullet wound. And it's really heartbreaking to see that a job that I am so passionate about, there are teachers leaving because they just feel unsupported. And what TIE are doing is they're trying to support teachers to have the confidence to support our young people within our schools, because the stories of Lise, myself and Jordan can no longer continue. They just can't go on. And I think what is vital is that our government needs to wake up and actually put their money where their kind of mouths are, and actually just go, do you know what? We need to put health and well-being first. We need to have confidence in our teachers, and the teachers need to have confidence in actually what they're doing. and 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 not making it about sex ed. We need to move away from this whole sex ed thing. This
It
is
seems
why.
to it seems to only
Oh,
ever crop up when there's LGBT issues
totally,
discussed, and I
totally.
had a similar chat with John Nicholson earlier, and it's like the
Yeah, I
moment
listened to that.
the
Yeah, it was
moment
powerful.
LGBT inclusive education's, it's like it's almost like they think teachers are going to be distributing how-to books to like
Totally.
primary school kids, you know?
Totally. Like for me, when I'm teaching LGBT education, I do a lot of work in like Holocaust education as well.
Oh, brilliant!
And I kind of tie it in a lot actually. But we look at the persecution of gay men under Nazi Germany. We look at the Matthew Shepard story, Laramie Project. I know that Tectonic Theatre Company are in Edinburgh just now at the kind of Fringe. So we look at lots of different things, and kids want to discuss it. They want to look at how their language affects other people. They do care about the community in which they actually live in. Um, and I just feel that staff just need to have a little bit of pressure taken off them and just go back to health and well-being. We need to look at what's happening in the Scandinavian countries. Like they kind of have that right with that balance of health and well-being being vital, and we just need to give the confidence back to teaching staff to go, do you know what? Just make sure your young people are happy, and just do what you need to do to make sure that happens. I know I'm seen as the kind of gay teacher. I'm absolutely fine with that. But I don't want to be the only teacher waving the rainbow flag within my school, and
Yeah.
that has to change. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you talking about the experience sort of behind the Holocaust there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I think a lot of people forget that um, homosexuals and the LGBT community was very much in the concentration camps, and
Yeah.
it was
Well, they
interesting.
were
Like,
kept in the concentration camps after the war ended. They were kept in until the 1960s
oh
because it was still
wow,
because it was still against the law to be gay in Germany. Um,
right,
and and what we tend to forget is that Germany was at the forefront of LGBT issues. Like they had a thriving cabaret scene,
yeah,
where gender, the kind of gender spectrum was absolutely huge. They were basically at the forefront of trans rights and looking at transgender issues. That was all that research was burned during the Nazi years. The Nazis then imprisoned gay men, and when the camps were liberated by the Russians and the Brits and the Americans, if you were wearing a pink Star of David on your uniform, sorry, a pink star, or sorry, a pink triangle on your uniform, then you were kept in because you were breaking the law because you were gay, and that
Jesus.
and that happened until the 1960s. So it never stopped in 1945. Men were still imprisoned until the 1960s.
Wow, I mean that's is bizarre, isn't it? I mean we've got one of the audience, another hungry hedgehog, saying that being gay was illegal in Germany until '94,
Yeah.
which to me is just yeah. I mean we almost went through the same thing with
Hmm.
Section 28 and stuff like that, but it's that is I did not know that post liberation
Hmm.
it was kept on as norm. So you've taught me something there.
Yeah.
Um, but
Really,
it's
really, really interesting. I've just came back from holiday from Tel Aviv, and I went
oh wow,
to the Yad Vashem Museum, which I always do every year when I go to Israel. And they've got a new exhibit, and the one of the gallery there is female's uniform that has a pink triangle, but also a yellow triangle. So
okay,
this prisoner, this woman, was a Jewish lesbian.
All right.
And I'm really interested to find out how they actually arrested her and what was the evidence they had to gather for that. So I'm going to be doing that kind of research. I've got some information I'm going to start looking up. But that whole period is absolutely fascinating. And letting young people know that as well, that a country like Germany, who were at the forefront of LGBT issues, had a massive turnaround, and basically went through the Holocaust. And I mean, what we're seeing in Russia and Chechnya, we've seen that hate crime is on the rise again in the States. It's a scary time for young people, and that young people need to know they've got a voice in this world and that their voice matters and that they can actually use it. And as teachers, we've got a responsibility to give them the skills to do that. And I know that when I was at school, if I heard about Alan Turing, I would have felt I would have felt a little bit more easier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
If I had a Laverne Cox on my TV screen, or if I had RuPaul's Drag Race, I would be fine. Do you know what I mean? But
It's
we
just
do.
that wee bit of, there's not so much light at the end of the tunnel, but there is someone out there who is famous for
Hmm.
for being who I am, and
Yeah,
they are me, and I
totally.
see myself in them, and it's like, you could
I
argue that it's that wee bit of hope that even if
Yeah.
your situation's shit right now,
Oh,
you've
totally.
got that opportunity to, you know, to make your
I
future better.
always I always remember my coming out was enlightened by Channel 4's Queer as Folk. I was in fifth year at school. Queer as Folk had just came on TV. It was 10 o'clock. I think it was a Tuesday or was it a Wednesday night. And that theme tune became my anthem
Brilliant.
for S5 and S6, and I can totally remember walking into like my high school, Firhill High School in Edinburgh,
Yep.
thinking I was like Nathan, and I was like out and proud, and I used to always like I don't actually know how I actually got away with it because obviously it was under Section 28, but I was totally out and proud, and I was like challenging teachers, and I was completely trying to like make them kind of squirm a little bit, I suppose. Um, and a bit like Lee's, I had really supportive teachers who really pushed me to get my qualifications and to do as well as I can. And I'm glad I stuck at it because if it wasn't for my teacher, Mrs. Chetty, I wouldn't be teaching today, really, to be honest. So, and I know that the amount of young people who come out to me is incredible, and I feel so privileged that they feel that they can tell me this huge kind of secret to them, and that they've honoured me with that piece of information, and I just hope that there is a teacher in Shetland and in Orkney and in the Western Isles and in the Scottish Borders and in Falkirk that is going to be that champion for that young person who's in their classroom. And I want Education Scotland to really think about how they're going to be looking at this and in the next phase of TIE. So,
Brilliant. And actually, following on from that, and it will be our last question because I know it's late. But the next phase of Thai. I was
mhm.
wondering, what your thoughts were. We've got a few viewers here from
Yeah.
international viewers. Um, Now, obviously, all of Thai's material
Hmm.
is available.
Yeah.
But what would you say if there is someone inspired watching, and like obviously understanding that you're on the ground helping
Hmm.
implement all of this,
Yeah.
you know, is TIE in a position where they could help advise other groups? Um,
Listen, Ty Ty started as a grassroots project with just two people. It started with Jordan and Liam. I then came on board. Then Scott, Danielle, Rhiannon's there. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. But it started off with an idea that Jordan and Liam wanted to change what was currently happening. If two people can do that in a country like Scotland, then it can happen in any country in the world. Um, I know, I've just said to you, I go to Tel Aviv every year, Israel.
yeah,
That's in the Middle East. Israel it's not amazing. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on there. However, for gay people, it's a beacon of hope. And I know that there are 3 schools in Tel Aviv that have the Thai resources and are currently using them. So
awesome.
if it can happen in the Middle East, then it can happen
That can
anywhere.
happen anywhere.
Yeah, and I know that we've had conversations with a similar project happening in California.
Excellent.
I know that Jordan and Liam have been over to the States as well. I know that the United Nations spoke to Jordan, Liam, and I about how this grassroots project came about and how it can be a model for other countries, for other things, like the training that I take and that I've led and created. I took from Holocaust education. Because I feel it's everyone's responsibility to teach about the Holocaust. So if you're passionate about something, do it. You've got a voice. We tell our young people to use their voice to make a difference. As teachers, you've got to lead by example, no matter which country you're in.
That is awesome. That is exactly you gave me the textbook answer of everything I wanted from that. And with that, I'll let you get to bed. To be honest,
Thank you so much.
but
And can I just say that you really sound like one of my ex-students, Rory, who's now on Hollyoaks. You really, really sound like him. And I was like, "That is this Rory?" But it's
I'll,
obviously not. So,
I'll take
um,
as a compliment, and I'll
yeah,
confirm because everyone else knows that they don't know my name at all, but I can
yeah.
confirm it's not Rory. So if you've got a
Okay, that's
list you're
fine.
checking off, you can.
I can cross that off.
You
That's
can.
fine. So
That's narrowed it down slightly for everyone.
brilliant.
But no, thank you so much for
And
coming on,
thank
and
you
it's
so
short
much for
notice as
absolutely
well.
everything. Oh my God, it's 12:15. Right, I better get to my bed. So,
No, no worries at
right.
all.
Thank you, mister. Thank you for everything. Take care
Brilliant.
of
Thank you
yourself.
very much.
Okay,
See you later.
bye. Bye
Bye
bye. Bye
bye.
bye.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.